In this video, I will make Gyre disgustingly powerful. What's good, folks? It's Nightmare Frame here with a new Warframe video coming at you with a new and improved Gyre build. For more information on Gyre and how she works, you can check out my Gyre review, but I will go over some important information on her abilities, just so you know how this loadout functions. With the Citrine's Last Wish update, we did get a few new augments, and one of them is Gyre's Cathode's Current. This is a bad and good mod. Okay, hear me out. The bad part is that it's pretty much mandatory at this point. It makes her more user-friendly across the board. And if you don't have this mod on your build, it's like, what are you doing? Anyway, the good part is that any kills that you do when Cathode's Grace is active prolongs the duration of Rotor Swell, and have Rotor Swell release an additional burst of damage with a 200% multiplier. You see, this is what I'm saying, it's mandatory at this point. So, this 200% is capped and does not increase, but do you really care? I mean, I do a little bit because, you know, I like bigger numbers. Okay, so what is so good about this build that makes this Gyre loadout disgusting? Well, all I did was give her something that she really is lacking, and that's survivability and armor strip. The Helminth ability is Pillage. I haven't used this thing in a hot minute till I played around with Hildren prepping for Hildren Prime. Let's break down Pillage for you to understand it a bit more. You essentially send out a pulse wave that follows the caster and strips enemy shield and armor. You know, their defenses. And once the wave reaches the end, it retracts to you, restoring your missing shields and grants you overshields based on the amount of defenses stolen. Pillage also cleanses you and allies of negative status effects, so that's also a huge bonus. But there is a kicker. Currently, not sure if they'll change this with Hildren Prime, but you need 400% power to fully strip in one cast. Oh yeah, but no worries. You can cast it multiple times to get the full strip. However, with this build, you just need 2 casts for a full strip. Here's another kicker. Enemies that do not have armor or shields do not restore or grant you shields upon Pillage cast, so it's not that great against Infested. But in a regular case, in a majority of the missions, this ain't a problem. But let's be honest, you're going to be killing really fast and moving on to newer enemies with shields and armor. Okay, the pulse initial radius is affected by your range, and the expansion, you know, how far it will expand once it hits its apex, is affected by duration, similar to Nova's Molecular Prime. Since we're killing really fast while we're on the move, we don't have to worry about that at all. Taking a look at the third ability, Cathode's Grace. This is going to be one of our 3 main sources of energy return, and this ability ties well with Gyre's passive. Her passive allows her abilities to receive a flat 10% crit chance per active electric proc on enemies. Works even better with a weapon that procs electric on those enemies. And the ability damage also gains a 2 times critical multiplier, basically having Gyre's abilities crit into orange and red crit territory. That scales that damage because now you're going to be getting a 4 times crit damage. And this crit chance increase stacks additively with Cathode's Grace, capping at 300% crit chance. While this ability is active, you gain crit chance and energy regen over time that scale of power. This ability stays active if you're active on kills. At base, you have a 5-second window to kill enemies to upkeep its duration. If you fail to do so, you'll be hit with a 60-second cooldown before you can reactivate it. I know, right? Painful. That's pretty much the main thing everything you need to know about Gyre. Otherwise, her second ability is just for grouping up enemies while dealing electric damage. It has weird pull hitboxes, not my favorite, but it's more consistent with damage compared to her first ability. The fourth ability, Rotor Swell, our main DPS ability, does AoE damage, and if your ability crits, it will discharge an electric burst within the area, chaining to every enemy. This AoE damage burst has an internal cooldown of 1 second before it can do the next burst, which synergizes with Cathode's Grace and its Augment for even more DPS. Rotor Swell also grants you 45% movement speed. Alright, now that you have an idea of how she works, what this build has, let's take a look at all the builds and utility. For my Archon shards, I do have 2 Amber shards. This gives me a total of 50% casting speed. I'm going to be pairing this up with my Focus School as well to get a total of 100% casting speed. Alright, in the aura, I have Growing Power for that 25% ability strength increase when you proc a status effect on a target. And guess what? We're going to be doing a lot of that. And we have Prime Surefooted in the Exilus for the knockdown and stagger resistance. Spending less time on your butt is a huge DPS increase. If you do not have this, you can use Handspring or Pain Threshold. For my power, I have Transient Fortitude and Umbral Intensify. This takes my power all the way up to 199%. And I do get Negative Duration. This affects my Cathode's Grace, giving your kill window 5.8 seconds and a duration increase per kill to 2 seconds. But that doesn't even matter because we're going to be killing like crazy. And since this is an ability spam build, I'm going to have Primed Flow for that large energy pool. Range at 175% with Archon Stretch and Augur Reach. Archon Stretch is going to give us some energy regen when we deal electric damage with our abilities, and Gyre is all about that electric damage. Streamline for the efficiency because, well, we're going to be spamming our first ability quite a bit for that armor strip. The Augment Cathode's Current for the uptime on our Rotor Swell, and, you know, that bonus 200% damage. Now, if you're playing in low-level content, you don't want to worry about anything, you can actually take additional duration in this slot. However, I'm going to use Rolling Guard just in case we get overwhelmed because that 3 seconds of damage and vulnerability is so damn good. Even though we're getting energy return with Archon Stretch and Cathode's Grace, is not going to be enough. So Arcane Energize is going to be that third instance of energy regen. And for additional power, I do have Molt Augmented. At max stacks, you gain 60% power strength. Alright, let me demonstrate how this combo actually works. As you can see, no abilities active right now. I want you to make sure before you engage the enemies for the first time, you do your Void Slings. You just need 2. 1, 2, you go back in, you have the 40% buff for 20 seconds, 50% casting speed as well. So again, before you engage enemies, Void Dash twice, proc Growing Power. Now we have 25 plus 40%. Do that again. Void Dash, proc, Armor Strip. There you go. Your uptimes are sorted. Again, before you engage, Void Sling. 1, 2. 40% buff. So, tap, Void Sling, Armor Strip, activate Cathode, Rotors. Everything is dead. And of course, to hold enemies in place, I do have Magus Lockdown. This tethers enemies. Nothing to do with your Focus School. So Void Dash, tether enemies. Proc Viral, Electric, Armor Strip, and everything dies. My Focus School is going to be Matarai. Matarai for power transfer. By activating transference, you gain 50% casting speed. And of course, Sling Strength, which is going to give us an additional 40% strength. And for my weapons and utility weapons, let's start off with the utility weapons. Epitaph is going to be our electric proc spread. It is modded for viral and electric. Fulmination for the blast radius, Amalgam barrel diffusion for the dodge speed, and multi-shot lethal torrent for that additional fire rate and multi-shot. As you can see, viral and electric. Another utility weapon is going to be the Praetos. You don't even have to mod this. Just have it there with these evolution traits. Drifting Grace for that sprint speed and slide speed. And finally, Evolved Ascension for the parkour velocity. And for killing acolytes, I do have my Spore Lacera primary. It's pretty straightforward. It has innate toxin on its radial attack, so if you put one elemental mod, which is going to be our cold mod, we will get viral. Pax Charge, just turning it into a battery, so we don't have to worry about losing ammo or anything like that. It's a simple build, crit chance, bunch of crit damage. We're hitting 100% crit chance, so it's beneficial to add on to that crit damage to multiply all of our outgoing damage. And since we're not using this to kill enemies, I don't need to put a faction mod. Just raw base damage. And if you want the usual Parazon loadout, Blood for Energy, Out of Sight, and Power Drain, additional 50% power strength and even more energy drop, and you know, just that little bit of CC. I did try this build with Terrify, but oh my god, the energy economy was just so bad, so I had to find an alternative. And that's how we got to this loadout. Alright folks, that has been it from me. I do hope you've learned something and enjoyed the video. And if you did, please feel free to leave a like, share, and subscribe for more Warframe content, streams, and so much more. Do refer to the description. Thanks for watching, and as always, peace.